So welcome back to the Electric Seal.
Today we are going to do a little bit longer distance driving, not with this one, but just with the car this time. So we are going to drive about 200 kilometers, a little bit over 200 kilometers in pretty good summer conditions. There is no rain, it's only a little wind, though I have to say it's a bit chilly morning here in Finland, about 15 degrees. Hopefully it will get a little bit warmer as we go, but nevertheless, all in all, pretty good conditions. And we are going to do quite high speed driving, 100 kilometers per hour, 80 kilometers per hour. And let's see what kind of consumption, what kind of range can the Seal pull in these conditions. So let's go.
Electric Seal, easy ride, that's the ideal. No big plan, just how we feel. We're on the road with Electric Seal.
The Electric Seal.
Before we go on to this drive, I wanted to show you some custom wallpapers for the infotainment screen that you might be interested in. So if you didn't know, in the Seal you can set your own custom wallpaper for the infotainment screen. You can use basically any image you want, you can use your own photos. But I have also these custom designed wallpapers, which of course are totally unofficial, but it is something that you may be interested in, so feel free to check my link in the description. For example, here the first one, this kind of serene sunset scene. I would say really clean, calm and minimalist look feel to it. And there are different colors as well. There is the shadow green version of the car in this same kind of water scene at the sunset. This wallpaper set also has some pretty intense driving scenes. For example, here is the space black Seal cutting through a storm with the lightning strike in the background. I think this is kind of a powerful and dramatic image, and I would say even cinematic look and feel to it, and brings a new kind of energy for your infotainment display. Or the same in polar white color, again with lightning strike. Here something different. This is Atlantis gray version of the Seal on the track with the fireworks. I think this is festive, kind of a celebration type of thing, and it makes a kind of a high impact wallpaper. Maybe this is something that if you just got the Seal, you would like to celebrate it with this wallpaper. And then something a little bit different. This is a kind of a desert drive. The polar white Seal is driving high speed in the desert, or different color variants. And then something maybe not for the summertime. I wouldn't perhaps use this currently when it's supposed to be summer, but I'm sure when the first winter storms hit in late November, December. So this is something I will put as my wallpaper at that time. So this is a kind of a snowstorm. The car really powering through a heavy snowstorm at the bridge. I think it's a bit of really adventurous, really dynamic, powerful, energetic. I think it's ideal if you want something with motion and winter vibes. This definitely has both, and all with these different color variants. And here's still the shadow green Seal in this lightning strike scene, and also the Arctic blue or the ice blue version. And this is kind of a desert overlook from above. The car is slowly gliding across these untouched desert sands, and I think this is a really clean, minimal, and looks amazing on the screen. It's almost like abstract art, I think, but of course the car there as the central object. So this is a mega pack of 20 custom designed wallpapers for the infotainment. Everything is in the native resolution of this infotainment screen, optimally sharp and looks good on this specific screen. Feel free to check those out from the link in the description if you're interested. But now I think it's time for our 200-kilometer drive, and we have 94% battery. And the temperature actually is a little bit under 15 Celsius at the moment. It's 13, so yeah, a little bit cold morning. But first things first, now I will do something that I very rarely do, and that is putting the Seal to the eco mode, because I've been using pretty much only the sport mode in my Seal, except some days in the winter when I use the snow mode and occasionally the normal mode. But the eco mode is a very rare sight in my Seal. And basically I do 95% of my driving in the sport mode. But now for this range test it is time to put the car to the eco mode. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, there you go. It is in the eco mode. There you have the proof. My Seal is in the eco mode. Alright, but anyway, I'll share a little bit about this eco mode versus sport mode as we get going. I will use the button at the end of this stalk here, and I will reset this trip A meter by holding down this button like this. So trip A gets reset like that. So now we have 0 kilometers there. And we could also do the same in the consumption graph, even though this one really has been inadequate with the Seal for a long time. Ever since I got the car, one of the cons has been the inadequate consumption reporting. It is not very detailed, and it's kind of hard to use in a cases like this that you are doing a drive and you want to see the total consumption. We can use it to some extent, but it is not optimal. To me, this seems like one of the simplest things that you can fix with software. But no, it seems that we have to settle for this one, at least for now. But anyway, I will reset this 50 kilometer graph with the button and clear data. And now that's done. So I think we are now ready to go. I have to say that the eco mode feels quite different than the sport mode. More so when I joined the highway. But yeah, the reason why I switched the car to the eco mode is basically when I've been doing a few range tests before, people have noticed that hey, you are driving with the sport mode and that's not good for consumption. And to make everybody feel good about this range test, I put it in the eco mode. But actually the thing is that the eco mode itself in the Seal doesn't have a consumption benefit by design. It's all about how do you accelerate, because if you do rapid accelerations, of course that consumes the energy, and with the sport mode it's so much easier to do those accelerations than with the eco mode where power is really limited. But the thing is that it is possible to drive efficiently also with the sport mode. So it just requires a really careful touch with the accelerator pedal. So I would argue, based on my tests, that there really isn't any kind of intrinsic difference between the eco mode and the sport mode in consumption if you can drive very carefully with the sport mode. Okay, now I'm joining the highway. Let's see, does this thing accelerate? What? Come on! I'm usually at 100 kilometers per hour already now. Well, Well, okay, it's still decent. It's still decent, but very different to what I'm used to. So this route that we are driving today is mostly 100 kilometers per hour area or 80 kilometers per hour. There are some short parts of 50 areas as well, but all in all it's pretty high speed driving. I think our average speed is going to be something like 80 kilometers per hour, including the stops. So yeah, this is a long distance high speed driving today, and it's gonna be interesting to see if the Seal can do under 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometer consumption. But of course, in good summer conditions, it should be able to reach decent consumption, and I think the 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers is a pretty good benchmark. And of course, this route, as it is 106 kilometers in one way, we are going to do that one way and come back. Total will be 212, but actually the one way is close to 100 kilometers, so in absolute terms the expectation for the consumption could be 21 kilowatt hours. And doing a quick calculation, that is pretty much 25% of the battery. A little bit more actually, maybe 27% of the battery or something like that. And when we left, we had 94%. So that would mean if the 27% is the kind of let's say rough target, that would mean 67% state of charge when we arrive at the destination. So let's see how close that will be. There is not much wind, and you can see it from the trees. There is some wind, but not much. I think it's like 4 meters per second. And now in this direction it's mostly headwind. So of course that has a small impact on the consumption, everything in the consumption, but nothing dramatic. But it could be that when we drive back, if the direction of the wind stays the same, then we would have a little bit of tailwind, and that would cause maybe half a kilowatt hour saving in 100 kilometers or 1 kilowatt hour. So of course, when you are thinking of consumption, everything matters. By the way, now that I am in this tunnel, this is I'm actually for the first time trying 360 camera as a dash cam. This is the Insta360 X5, and interesting to try this dynamic range when I switch from low lighting tunnel conditions into this daylight. I can't yet see the result, but when I edit the final video, interesting to see how the camera handled that change in the lighting conditions. I used to have a 4K dash cam kind of permanently installed in the windshield, but that one had a bit of a compatibility issues with the Seal, especially with the parking mode and triggering the parking mode, because I wanted the camera to record always when there is some movement around, but it failed to enable the parking mode in some cases, and it didn't catch everything that that it was supposed to. So I returned that one, and ever since I've only had this BYD dashcam, which of course doesn't have any parking mode. It's pretty nice to have it well integrated, of course, in the infotainment, and you can also control that with the steering wheel button, which is a really handy user experience. The only downside of the BYD dashcam is the fact that it is very low image quality. It's definitely a shame. I hope that there would be a compatible, dashcam that can be installed in the same way as the BYD dashcam, but which would really upscale the image quality. But yeah, now I have this Insta360 X5, which is not really a dashcam by design. It is a 360 camera, but I'm just trying it out. How does it work as a dashcam? Of course, it doesn't have a parking mode or anything like that. But just in a regular drive, I'm testing how it does and what is the quality and the dynamic range of the X5. And now switching to this 100 kilometers area. So I'm trying to keep the real speed, GPS speed, exactly at the limit. So currently the meter speed is 103 kilometers per hour, and that should be 100 kilometers or 99 kilometers real GPS speed. So this place I'm going to visit today is called Fiskars Village. You probably don't know it. Well, some of the Finnish viewers might know it, but it's a very small, quite pleasant old village west from Helsinki, pretty much in the middle of Helsinki and Turku. And Fiskars Village is really old, I think, ironworks site. Centuries old. I think it was established somewhere maybe 17th century, like 400 years ago, and there are still in that village some of those old ironworks buildings left, and it's a very nice area. Nowadays this village is a sort of a, I guess you could call it, a design hub. There's a lot of designers, artisans, and these kind of small boutiques in that village area. It's a really quite a lovely place. If you ever visit Finland, it's a pretty nice day trip destination. You can easily reach it from Helsinki by car, like I'm driving now this route, just a little bit over an hour. But there are also buses going that place that you can easily take. And I've been there myself only a couple of times, but now I have some errands to run in that area, so I'll have a chance to visit again and do this range test at the same time. So yeah, that's the Electric Seal tourist advice. Remember to visit Fiskars Village. It has been a while since my last range test with the Seal. That was of course in the winter time, in winter conditions, back in February. So it's already 5 months ago. And then the result was about 25 kilowatt hours consumption, and the range in that highway drive was somewhere close to 350 kilometers. And you can check that full test in my earlier video. I can include the link here. But now, of course, in summer conditions, the expectation is clearly lower consumption, so at least 25% lower consumption should be possible. And now that we have driven 61 kilometers, we have consumed 12% of the battery, which is about it's about 10 kilowatt hours. I think that is pretty much 19 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So we are matching the expectations that we set for ourselves in the beginning of this trip regarding the consumption. So no surprises, at least yet, but of course, let's see how that evolves. And like mentioned, really good conditions today. Now the temperature is also up a little bit, so it's 16 degrees and not much wind, dry roads. It is not perfect conditions, but it's quite close to perfect conditions for consumption. Of course, with temperature, I think the optimal with the battery usually is a little bit over 20 degrees Celsius. Then if it's significantly colder, it raises the consumption, but also if it's significantly warmer, that will also raise the consumption. So the sweet spot is maybe 5 degrees more than what we have at the moment, but still this is close. Alright, so we are getting to the end of the first stint soon. We have 17 more kilometers to go, about 19 minutes. And battery state of charge is 76%, and of course my forecast at the start was 67% at arrival. So still 9%, or actually now 8% left, and yeah, I think we'll reach that one, and it will be actually a little bit less than what I expected, so looking good consumption wise. The trip meter shows now 97 kilometers driven, and based on the state of charge, consumption has been, we have consumed 20% of the battery, and 20% is about 16.5 kilowatt hours. So we are looking at about 17 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers consumption. If that holds, that's an excellent result. But it's not yet the final result. Let's see what we have after the first stint, and then of course after the full 200. I think 212 kilometers is the total distance that we are going to drive today, and that gives us pretty good data to to calculate the consumption and the range. Right, so just 1 kilometer left, we are soon arriving Fiskars Village. A really lovely curvy road here. Nice scenery. And yeah, we are definitely going to be below the expectation in terms of the consumption and the state of charge. And 73% state of charge. So we used only 21% of the battery in this first stint, and exactly 106 kilometers. Yeah, I think even though I have plenty of battery left, I think I'm going to charge a bit here. Alright, so let's plug in the Seal to this charger. This is standard AC 11 kilowatts. I'm able to get from here. And what was the 3443? That one. Okay, it started charging. Great. So let's leave the Seal here and let's take a look at the Fiskars Village. Let's take a quick walk through this village. This is the tourist section of the Electric Seal content. Don't worry, I will get back driving soon. This is an old fire station, and actually nowadays it is a tourist information point, even though it seems to be closed now. But take a look at this, pretty awesome old fire truck they have here. So here are some of the old buildings of the old ironworks site, and some of these date back centuries. Some restaurants over here. So here's quite picturesque estate. Here's one of the hotels in this area, the Torby. Seems to be 1888 is marked there on top of the entrance. So this building is almost 150 years old. Alright, starting to head back to the car. I got my errands taken care of. And look at this parking spot. It's totally crowded. This is a really popular destination nowadays, it seems. When I arrived a few hours ago, there wasn't really anyone. But now it seems every spot is taken. Alright, back in the car and time to head back on the same route that we had on the way here. And actually we have exactly the same state of charge in the battery. Now after the charging we have again 94% battery left, which of course means if the consumption is the same as on the way here, then we would end up again with 73% battery after the full trip of 212 kilometers. Because the consumption was 21% on the way here. But let's see what is the final consumption. We still have that 106 kilometers to complete, and then we'll conclude what is the range and consumption of the Seal in these conditions. on the way back and we have been driving 20 kilometers now, so the total distance is 126 kilometers. And we still have 85 kilometers left to the destination, and then we have completed the full 212 kilometers today. Of course, it's not super long distance drive, but we get plenty of data from this one, and even though this is not highway drive, even though very briefly there's a few highway sections, this is a medium to high speed route. The battery is 89%, so we have used 5% in these little bit over 20 kilometers. That's a little bit maybe more than on the way here. So let's see. So we have now driven 61 kilometers of this second stint, and total distance is 168 kilometers. 81% of battery left, so we have consumed 13% in this 61 kilometer drive, and we still have 43 kilometers to go. So it might be that the consumption is just a tad higher than on the way to the Fiskars Village. I think now if we would reach our forecast of 73% left at destination, that would mean that 8% would be enough for these 42 kilometers. It might be tight, but let's see. It is still possible. And we are not going to take this exit yet, as we are driving the same route than on the way here. So let's continue. All right, here's our exit. Ring Road 2. So the route planner estimates that we will arrive at 71%. We are currently 75%. So yeah, like I thought, it's a little bit higher consumption on the way back. But overall, I think the Seal does very good result today. Given the average speed being relatively high, the overall consumption and the effective range calculated based on that consumption is a pretty solid result. It's actually above my expectations. Still at 73%, so maybe I should switch to neutral and just roll the rest of the distance. I think we have a downhill coming, so that might actually even work. Well, not quite. Well, of course, just kidding. I have tried to maintain the same cruising speed all the time, so of course there was now a little bit traffic, especially on the way back, which affected the speed a little bit. There was some moments where I had to go a bit slower, and then I had to do a couple of overtakes where I took a little bit more power out of the motors, but it has been pretty stable. It has been pretty stable ride, so cruising speed in the 80 km per hour areas has been the 84 typically, and that's a real speed, 80 km per hour. And similarly at 100 kilometers, in 100 areas it has been 103, 104, which is the GPS speed of 100 kilometers per hour. But yeah, we are only 600 meters away from our destination and we are still 73%. Actually, this is interesting. Will we anyway reach the destination with this forecasted number? Even though the route planner already said that we will miss it, and I also said that we will miss that mark. So it's interesting that the seal decided otherwise. Alright, here we are. Exact same spot where we left. And indeed, we did reach here at 73%. So again, on the way back, the consumption was 21% of the battery, and that in terms of kilowatt hours, that is 17 something kilowatt hours, and converted in the consumption figure per 100 kilometers, that was the 16.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I will put here the exact calculations so you can check the numbers here. But so it seems excellent efficiency by the Seal on this route, which was medium to high speed, including highway, including 100 kilometers, 80 kilometers per hour areas, and 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's above my expectations, and that means a range over 500 kilometers for this kind of driving profile. So let's check here the consumption graph. Of course, now again the last 50 kilometers, but the profile was so similar for the last 50 kilometers than the earlier 50 kilometers that this consumption figure now in this case holds true. But it's important to remember that that might not always be the case for the whole trip, because this is summarizing only the 50 kilometers. So all in all, on this 213 kilometer trip, we used 42% of the battery, and of course the total capacity of the battery in the Seal is 82.5 kilowatt hours. So that means 42% of that is roughly 34.5 kilowatt hours, and when you then divide that by 2.13, you will get the consumption per 100 kilometers, and that is 16.3. That is the math with consumption calculation. And in terms of the range, of course, then if you take the 213 kilometers and divide that by 0.42, you will end up with this nice 500 kilometer figure. If you think of the effective range, if you want to leave, let's say, 10% buffer, so then this would mean still over 450 kilometers, 456 kilometers of effective range with this kind of driving profile in these conditions. I think it's excellent result, and it makes the Seal a very good long distance drive, of course, combined with the comfort and the driving experience overall. So that concludes this range test. Hopefully you found this video informative and useful. Next time maybe I'll take this pickup trailer with me, and that probably would change the consumption figure a little bit. But today, excellent result, 16.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like and comment, and see you in the next video.
We're on the road with electric Seal. Easy ride, that's the ideal. No big plan, just how we feel. We're on the road with electric Seal.